You know, he picked the wrong family, and not scared of a conflict, and we're not scared. We're not running. We're coming at him.
Hey guys, it's Franky. Welcome to the think tank. So I can hardly believe it myself, but I haven't talked about Sarah Boone yet. So I thought maybe we could go through a video or two together, or an article or two together. So she is the one who was charged after her boyfriend died in the suitcase. So I don't know, pretty much everybody has seen something on her, something else. So I'll have a little bit that's from recent, and I'll have a little bit that has gone through this time period. So this is from News Nation. And it says the pre-trial conference for a Florida woman accused of zipping her boyfriend into a suitcase, recording his repeated cries for help, and leaving him locked inside until he died. So she was set to go to trial this month, but it has been bumped. And I know there's a date in something we've got here. I will take note. So Sarah Boone is 42. She faces second-degree charges in the death of her 42-year-old George Torres Jr. This is her boyfriend. And according to the Orange County Sheriff's Office, so we do know that there is video out there of that interview. I do have, I think it's her warrant. Sarah's, we'll take a look. So Boone's defense attorney says she plans to use a battered spouse defense when she goes to trial. Mark Najim, a criminal defense attorney, told News Nation that Sarah Boone's lawyers would have a tough road ahead of them if they use that as their defense. Florida does recognize battered woman syndrome, or battered spouse syndrome, I should say. It's typically the woman who's the victim in these matters, but you have to really show that abuse is perpetual, that it's ongoing, and then it's escalated. I'm losing my voice. I think I've done 4 today, so I thought that might have something to do with it. But there is so much going on right now. It's like, oh my. I'm trying to watch Lori Daybell. I am covering Letitia. I wanted to talk about Sarah here, and we're still working on Koberger. We also have Delphi. So there is a lot going on. So during a pre-trial hearing in January 2022, the defense attorney said the case was not ready for trial and he needed to meet with Boone and find subject matter for experts for her defense. So let's see what we got going here. This is probably from News Nation. Everybody's kind of got a different opinion when it comes to these guys, but let's see what they have to say. I just finished.
We're going to bring in legal contributor Jesse Weber now. He is also a contributor at the Law and Crime Network. Jesse, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good to see you, Mitch. Thanks for having me.
So let's say you're a defense attorney here. How do you counter that video?
It's a challenge for sure. I mean, especially since she's charged with second-degree murder, which is easier to prove than first-degree murder. What we've seen is that her defense attorney has filed notice of a battered wife syndrome defense. And what that essentially means is, and what you'd have to prove, is that—
Let me know down below what you think of them using this as defense.
That this client, defendant, was a victim of intense emotional, psychological, physical abuse over a period of time. And what we usually see is this defense coming up when something happens in that moment. A defendant was feeling an intense fear and ultimately acted out, felt that they had no choice.
So this cracks me up. Look at her face as she sees people recording her.
But to kill the victim in this case. Now, the problem here, of course—
Oh, we missed it.
Locking somebody in a suitcase.
She's so indignant. Like, we're playing hide and go seek.
Victim in this case. Now, the problem here— acted out and felt that they had no choice.
Look at that face. Like, you guys are just assholes.
An intense fear and ultimately acted out and felt that they had no choice but to kill the victim in this case. Now, the problem here, of course, locking somebody in a suitcase is very different than firing a gun or stabbing someone in the heat of the moment. And I think it's going to be a really big challenge for her attorney to assert that kind of defense.
So they do show the suitcase a little bit. I wondered about that.
To try to say she was assert that kind of defense, to try to say she was acting in self-defense or was in an altered state. Because what you're hearing from that video is somebody who was conscious of what she was doing, took a moment to deliberate on it, heard the pleas, and just kept him there and was taunting him. So when you look at this case, I can understand why they're going this way with a potential defense, because there's really not a ton of defenses to justify this.
Well, and I think one of my first red flags when reading this story is hide and seek, a drunken game of hide and seek.
Right.
I mean, are we going to go into detail on that as to whether or not that was normal behavior? Or is that just, do you think that was something that she came up with when police were questioning her and it was like, wait, what? I'm very confused by that.
That's a major problem. We just covered the Alec Murdaugh case, right? So there's a difference between what you initially tell authorities and what comes out later in the video evidence. So if she initially said, hey, look, this was a game, we were playing hide and seek, I woke up the next morning, I thought he got out. It's very different than what we heard on those cell phone videos, right? And so those videos are important for two reasons. One, remember, for second-degree murder, you need to show a depraved heart, an indifference to human life. You could say that those videos show that. And number two, if she was purposely lying to police, that's where defendants get themselves in trouble. We saw the same thing with Alec Murdaugh. Those videos don't look like a game of hide and seek gone wrong.
In the case of second-degree murder or manslaughter, what have you here, do you have to prove that she knew and was certain that he would die? Because
yeah, like what she did was horrid. She sat there and watched him. I don't know if this is truth or not, don't take it as gospel, but I also heard at one point she kicked the suitcase down from upstairs. Like, it sounds like she kicked the suitcase with him in it down the stairs.
Could be a possible defense that she could say, well, I thought he could breathe just fine. I thought he was exaggerating. I thought he could get himself out. I didn't think I had to intervene.
It's a great question. First-degree murder, you have to show an intent to kill. That's not what they're saying here. Second-degree murder, you have to say you were engaged in some inherently dangerous activity. You knew the risks of it, and you showed a depraved heart, an indifference to human life. You could say that the facts of this kind of add up to that. Manslaughter is different. Manslaughter is a little bit less. You have to show negligence. Maybe that's what her defense attorneys are hoping for. Best case scenario, if they can't get a not guilty, like a self-defense argument, if they say not guilty, or they say manslaughter, because manslaughter's 15 years in prison versus second-degree murder, which is 30 years in prison. So I think.
So yes, what she's saying is that, you know, they drank a little bit of wine, but not a whole bunch. And that they're playing hide and go seek. And his hiding spot was the suitcase. And she helped him hide there. You know, did up the zipper, left it open a little bit, she figured. And yeah, game on. Now she gets to look for him. What the hell?
I think that it becomes a question of where they're trying to go with it. But yeah, they don't have to show she intended to kill, but locking someone in a suitcase and you're hearing their pleas, you can see how that's showing a depraved heart.
Boom. Right? Oh my God. So this is outdated, so we won't look at these dates here. So in February 2020, Boone called authorities from her Winter Park home and told dispatchers her boyfriend was dead. Let me see if they've got, let's just look. If I can get that here. Ugh. Come on, let me see. I just want to see if I can get that audio somewhere really quick. I'll give that a minute and come back here. Okay, so investigators say she claimed that they had been drinking the night before and agreed that it would be funny if Torres got into the suitcase during a game of hide and seek. According to the arrest affidavit from the sheriff's office, Boone admitted she zipped Torres into the suitcase, went upstairs to bed, woke up the next morning to find that he was still inside that suitcase, but was now unresponsive. The sheriff's office said Boone's statements did not line up with video evidence found on her phone, showing a blue suitcase facing downward with Torres trying to free himself. In the video, he called and yelled for help, that he could not breathe. This is also in the affidavit. Boone could be heard laughing and saying things like, yeah, that's what you do when you choke me. According to this document, in December of 2021, Boone sent a written letter to the judge citing several concerns, specifically regarding an alleged lack of communication from the judge overseeing her case or her defense attorney. According to online records, Boone did not file a request for a new lawyer. She did not file, yeah. She also said she was planning to send a letter to Governor Ron DeSantis about the mismanagement of her case. She's a peach. So, okay. I wonder if this is where we should go. Yeah. So we do have, I'm going to put that down. Sorry, guys. We do have this. I obviously have not fixed my lighting issue. Brutal. Okay, here we are. Let's look at Sarah Boone. This is Fox. These guys are all in my description below. So, Sarah Boone case. Winter Park woman accused in boyfriend suitcase death appears in court. Good Lord. So when did this one come out? This is just March 31st, 2023. Just happened. Oh, if you're new to the channel, Western Canada here in the mountains.
Frank Bankwitz.
Not the best internet at times.
Please raise your right hand and be sworn in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Morning, ma'am. Tell me your name and your date of birth.
Sarah Boone, October 10th, 1977.
All right, we're here for pre-trial conference today. Mr. Cacciatore, where do you stand in preparing to proceed forward to trial?
State's ready, Your Honor.
Mr. Bankwitz, where do you stand in regards to preparing
I'm
for
sorry, the
trial?
defense is not ready. We're requesting a continuance. We are having difficult time finding an expert who is willing to work for the JAC rates. And so I'm still it's an essential part of the case, basically. It's never been initiated before by any of the prior attorneys that I'm aware of.
In broad terms, what's the nature, what's the field?
Spouse defense.
Okay.
Statutorily, we have to give the state notice, sufficient time, and name of the expert and the essential elements that they'll be testifying to.
Mr. Cacciatore, what's your position in regard to the defense request for continuance?
I would have no objection to another role.
Mr. Bankwitz, how deeply have you plumbed the depths of the pool of experts in this field to find out or find one who's willing to work for the JAC rate?
Well, I've actually talked to 3, and they don't have contracts with JAC and are not willing to work with JAC. And I've made some other inroads with battered woman shelters, trying to get their psychologists, who'd be willing. Problem is willing to testify, basically.
Okay. Because of the concern about the competition for testimony?
Well, that's one of the things. And to be honest with you, this case has had so much notoriety that people don't want to be involved.
Okay. So, Mr. Bankwitz, I'm certainly willing to give you additional time based on my understanding of the case. I understand why that would be a defense the defense would want to explore about potentially presenting. What I'm not sure about is whether the inability to find an expert forever delays the trial of the case.
I wouldn't expect it to be a forever delay, Judge. You know me better than that.
Mr. Cacciatore, well, I just want to make sure everyone in the room understood that, I'll give reasonable amounts of time to prepare a defense. The defendant's entitled to an adequate defense, but they're not necessarily entitled to the exact defense they would prefer to have if resources run limited. So, Mr. Cacciatore, remind me, where are we as far as lining up your various homicide cases for trial? I know we have some things set to go to trial in the June trial period.
Yes, we have both Mr. Herlong and Mr. Soel set for then. And then as far as this trial period, we have Mr. Hall and potentially Mr. Ofori as well. If I could ask of the defense, because I think it would make a difference in the timing of the continuance in this case, does the defense intend to hire an expert to testify generally as to the precepts and the things that go along with battered spouse syndrome, or do they intend to hire an expert that will evaluate Mrs. Boone and want to comment on her directly. And the reason I ask that is because I think the case law is clear that if it's the latter thing, then the state is entitled to have her sit down with our own expert to be evaluated as well. So that would obviously take more time if that is going to be the path they're going to go.
Mr. Banquets, are you in a position to
Number two is definitely what we're looking at, Judge. Although number one would be incorporated in that as far as their general ability and their expertise in the area.
Would you agree that if in fact you retain an expert and they're going to opine specifically on Ms. Boone's state of mind at the time of the incident, that opens the door for the state to also
most
have an
definitely.
expert? All right.
Most definitely.
So here's what I am, and Mr. Cashel, let me ask you this. Let's say that turns out not to be an issue. We're not going to have two experts. How long would it otherwise take you to present your case? Just rough idea.
I would say 3 days.
And other than this potential defense, Mr. Bankwitz, and is that including jury selection, Mr. Cacciatore?
No, well, I probably 3.5 days with jury selection.
All right. And Mr. Bankwitz, other than this potential defense, if we picked a jury in 1 day, the state presented their case in 2.5 days, how long do you anticipate a defense presentation would be at this
I would
point?
say at least 3 days.
Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. I'll grant the continuance. I'm thinking continuing out to the July 11th pretrial, July 24th trial period.
How long is that trial period, Judge? I have a time certain death penalty case in Lake County starting the second week in August.
That's a 3-week trial period, so it would be the week starting Monday, July 24th, Monday, July 31st, and then the last week of the trial period would be Monday, August 7th.
That's when I'm scheduled to start picking a jury in Lake County.
Well, let's do this. I want to set it for that date. That way you'll have a much better idea of what's actually happening on your death penalty case in the county. I understand that those are priority cases, but I also know that they're the cases where if a problem comes up, no matter what a judge has said before, they're likely to allow the case to move because they don't want to try it twice.
Just to advise the court, this case had to be continued at the last minute because of one of the attorney's wives had basically had a stroke. And so it was a week before we were scheduled to start in that case. But Judge Davis up there, now that has, I won't say resolved itself, but is in a better position. Judge Davis has advised all of us that we're going, quote, come hell or high water.
See, I try not to say things like that because I feel like I'm just tempting
Well,
fate.
that's just, what do you expect?
Well, having never worked there, it means nothing to me. So I'll grant the change, July 11th pretrial, July 24th trial period. And let's go ahead and do this. While I'm giving July 11th as the date, let's go ahead and have the lawyers reach out to my judicial assistant and just like we did this time, schedule a status separate, unique date for pretrial so that I have, y'all have my undivided attention when we talk about the case. I don't have 97 other lawyers tapping their fingers, waiting to get to me.
Sounds good, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Ms. Boone, we return to the Orange County Jail pending further order.
There we go. There we go. This is, let me see, how's the volume? Volume. Should be good. So Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone. Let's make this a little bit bigger. There we are. So Sarah Boone, a Florida woman accused of putting her boyfriend in a suitcase and leaving him there. Back in 2020, in an alleged game of hide and seek. That one just every time, right? Doesn't it just get you? So we just watched where they were saying that they were having trouble finding experts willing to work for the Justice Administration Commission. Well, isn't that something, right? But was having trouble finding their psychologists willing to testify about the battered woman syndrome. So let's see here. On February 25th, 2020, Boone, then 42, was arrested by Orange County deputies after detectives said Torres Jr. died after being zipped into a suitcase and left inside for hours. The incident reportedly happened at the couple's Winter Park home. According to the investigators, Boone told them that she and Torres had been drinking wine and playing hide and go seek, and then she went upstairs and passed out in her bed. She said she woke up hours later to her cell phone ringing multiple times. She then reportedly realized that her boyfriend was possibly still in the suitcase. Boom. And when she unzipped it, she found Torres unresponsive and not breathing. She called 911 and deputies arrived to find him dead. In December, Boone sent a letter to the judge citing several concerns, specifically regarding an alleged lack of communication with the judge overseeing her case or her defense attorney. According to online records, Boone did not file a request for a new lawyer. She also said she was planning on sending a letter. Okay, we went through all of that. Okay, they said the first... this is... prosecutor said there were 2 videos on her phone that showed her recording video as her boyfriend tried to get out of the suitcase. The first video began recording on February 24th, 2020 at 11:12 p.m., in which you could hear him, Torres, repeatedly yelling out Boone's name. Reportedly, she was laughing as he was screaming in terror, pleading for help until his final breath, investigators said, "For everything you've done to me, she did a lot of swearing. And then she called him stupid. Boone could be heard saying in the video, "That's on you. That's what I feel like when you cheat on me," she reportedly added. Good God. Second video began reporting February 24th, 8:20 p.m., in which detectives said Torres is heard yelling out Sarah Boone's name. An arrest report said the suitcase was in a different position during the second video. Court documents detailed a history of domestic violence between Boone and Torres prior to the incident. Both of them had been arrested for battery on each other. So they'd get drunk and beat the snot out of each other. Fun times. Boone's trial is expected to begin. Okay, we're expecting this to happen now in July, right? Starting on the 11th. Damn. Unreal. So let's see here. Oh, God. People, I mean, I should not get shocked, right? But people just blow me the freak away. So this is basically just talking about this trial being bumped up. And this is from News Nation. Check them out. So, the trial of a Florida woman accused of zipping her boyfriend into the suitcase has been postponed until July. She faces second degree for the death of 42-year-old George Torres Jr. A pretrial conference was held on March 31st, and that's what we just watched, with the trial initially scheduled to begin on April 10th. It is now starting on July 24th, and they are saying it's unclear why the trial was delayed. Boone was arrested in 2020. A day earlier, she called 911 from her phone and told the dispatcher that her boyfriend was dead. Investigators said she claimed that she'd been drinking the night before, while they had been drinking the night before, and again thought it would be just so much fun to play hide and go seek. How do you play hide and go seek in that house? Damn. So he had to have willingly gotten in there, right? How did she manage that one? Was it a game? I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Let me know if you have any idea. Let me know your opinion. What the hell were they thinking? The sheriff's office said Boone's statement didn't line up with the video evidence found on her phone, showing the blue suitcase facing downward with him trying to free himself. In the video, he called out and yelled help and said that he could not breathe. And again, she was laughing, saying, "That's what I feel like when you cheat on me." Wow. Good Lord. Just going to see if we can find anything. I've got one more article, but I do believe we've gone through most of this with the other articles. I am going to look for that video, and if I can find it, I'm sure it's out there somewhere. We'll go through it. I'll do another video, and we will walk our way through that video and what she allegedly did. So guys, thanks again for stopping by. I appreciate you. So for now, I will say good night, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.